Hello, Algebra 2. For today, we're going to be going over different types of questions for explicit formula for arithmetic sequence, and you will be turning in an assignment that will be graded as a quiz grade for today. Every week, we will have an assessment, something to put in for the marking period. We only meet 3 times a week, which allows us only very short limited amount of time, as you guys already have experience. But the quiz tomorrow will be entailing the several questions that I'll be able to show you for today. So there's really no need for panic. I want the quiz to be done by tomorrow, so I'll give you a little bit more extra time to finish it up, and then make sure you have it done by tomorrow. But tomorrow is that's the exception, and you guys will be no longer be able to make up for that unless you take it as a retake. It will be a quiz grade, which will be the 60% of your grade. So make sure you guys watch this video, and please take a look at what we did in the questions, and you guys shouldn't have any problem for the quiz. It should be only about 5 questions long, no big deal. Okay? Actually, might be less than that depending on the situation, but anyways, first let's begin. First, given the first term of the common difference of the arithmetic sequence, find the 52nd term and the explicit formula. So generally for all of these questions, what you guys are going to do is you guys will always be asked to solve for the explicit formula. Okay? Remember, the formula for the explicit formula is a sub n is equal to a sub 1 plus d times n minus 1. Or n minus 1 times d, it doesn't really matter. That's the video that we have learned yesterday, and we're going to apply that a lot to solve these questions. So we want to find the explicit formula first, no matter what. Even though it says to find the 52nd term, that really comes up afterwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply plug those in here and here into the function, and so we find out that the explicit formula is a sub n is equal to 1 plus 1/2 times n minus 1. Now notice how I have just simply have substituted in the 1/2 into here, and I've substituted in the first term just in here, and that's it. Okay, and once I have done all that stuff, now it's time for me to find out. This is the answer. The explicit formula should have n intact, which means that n should not be messed with. Your equation should have n in there. And so the common difference of arithmetic sequence and find the 52nd term of the explicit formula. So if I want to find out the 52nd term, what I need to do is I need to plug in 52 for my n, because that is the number of terms that I want to find out for. So a sub 52 is equal to 1 plus 1/2 of 52 minus 1. All I'm going to do is simply substitute it in here and here. So then what I end up getting is that a sub 52 is equal to 1 plus 1/2 times 51. And so I will get 1 plus 51 over 2. Make sure you type that into your calculator, and what I'm going to end up with is 1 plus, I believe, 25.5. My final answer should be 26.5. That would be my 52nd term. And notice how this term is going to be like 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and so on, because our only common difference is a half. So that is going to be, it relatively makes sense. You can kind of get the vibe that if I continue down this trend 52 times afterwards, or 51 times to be exact, you will end up with 26.5 on the 52nd term. Okay? Now what I would like you to do is I would like you to pause the video, and then I would really like you to try this on your own. And then once you have the answer, please check. Okay, so assuming you have the answer, I have a sub n is equal to 3 plus 3 over 2 times n minus 1. So a sub 52 is 3 plus 3 over 2, 52 minus 1. 3 plus 3 over 2, 51. 3 plus 51 times 3 is 153 over 2. And so once I divide that by 2, I believe I get 76.5 plus 3, so I get 79.5. All of this work, I would like you to see it. I would like to see it. So please write those down. All of this, what I'm writing down, is what I'm expecting for you to have. If you just write down the answer like this, I'm not going to give you credit for it whatsoever. So please, can I emphasize it enough? Show your work for that. Okay, so for the next question, you're going to get a series of numbers. So for these series of numbers, let's say, for example, for number 5 and number 6, you will always be given what we call the ace of 1. Super important when we're talking about the explicit formula for arithmetic sequence. Remember, always, guys, recall this. I know that I'm not there to kind of just hone in into your academic integrity. Sure, you guys will make this in open notes, and believe me, I will make it like that. Just if you want to use your notes, go ahead. So my only suggestion to you is when you're asked to find the explicit formula, you need two things mainly. Number one, you need to find the first term, which should be most likely be given to you in many cases. Number two, you need to figure out the common difference. The common difference is simply found out by taking any two subsequent numbers, for example, 238 and 38, and then subtracting them. So when you subtract 238 and 38, you get 200. So what that means is you're consistently adding 200 each time, and you can kind of check that for yourself to see if the common difference makes sense or not. Now it does. Now, so once you have those two, all you got to do is plug it in respectively. My final answer. That's it. Stop right there. That is your explicit formula. The explicit formula should always contain n in it. Let's say then from like the first slide, let's say I ask you to find the 52nd term, 152nd term, or I don't know, 77th term. You just have to substitute n as whatever the value is. And then you'll be able to solve it using a calculator. Pause the video and try number 6. For number 6, a sub n is equal to 13 plus, the difference is 200 once again. Wow, that is such a boring question, but that's what's going to be. And the next question, we have given a term in an arithmetic sequence and a common difference. Find the term named in the problem. So the problem in this particular case is that you gotta take multi-steps. Like I said, you need two things, a sub 1 and the common difference. I'm given the common difference, but I have no idea what my first term is. So I have to go about my way to solve for what that's going to be. I cannot zoom in for some reason. Okay, there we go. All right, so I want to find out the very first term. But only clue that I'm given is that a sub 18 is equal to 84. So how do I utilize that to figure out what a sub 1 is going to be? Well, it turns out the easy way to do it is just to plug it into the formula that we all know and love. We have the common difference as 4, so we can just plug that in as 4. The n value here is 18 because that's the 18th term of the sequence. So the a sub 18, which is same thing as saying 84, is equal to the very first term plus this whole thing. So that is the first equation you need to set up for. Why go through all this trouble is just for you to figure out what a sub 1 is, because that's what I need to know. But unfortunately, you need to do a bit of an algebra before we can do that. 18 minus 1 here is 17. 17 times 4 is 68, plus a sub 1, I'm bringing this down, is equal to 84. How do I get a sub 1 by itself? Make sure you peel the onion correctly and subtract 68 on both sides. You get a sub 1 is equal to, I believe, 16. That's my first term on the sequence. Now that I have this, am I done? No, because it's not asking you to solve for a sub n, it's asking you to solve for a sub 39. So I use that to figure out a sub 39. 16 plus common difference of 4 times 39 minus 1. So a sub 39 equals 16 plus 4 times 38, which I believe turns out to be 152. So a sub 39 becomes 168, and that's going to be your final answer. Okay, try number 12 on your own, and pause the video and let me know if you have it. Okay, so how do we do these problems is that first we need to use this information to solve for a sub 1. So a sub 26, which means that the n value is 26, negative 5,009. That's same thing as saying the first term plus the common difference of negative 200 times 26 minus 1. So rewriting the equation, remember all of this is a way of me showing work. A sub 1 plus, that is 25. 25 times negative 200 should give you negative 5,000. And so if I add the 5,000 on both sides, because that's negative times positive, that should be the same thing as saying minus 5,000. Maybe I should rewrite the equation for you guys to have. So negative 5,009 is equal to a sub 1 minus 5,000. Add the 5,000 on both sides, and what you end up with is that it's a sub 1 is equal to negative 9. Okay, I'm not done yet because I want to find out a sub 29. So the a sub 29 in that particular case will be the first term plus the common difference of negative 200 times 29 minus 1. So 28 times negative 200 would give you negative 5,400, I believe. No, actually, that's not correct. That's negative 5,600, and you're going to subtract 9 from that. So your final answer here will be negative 5,609. Okay? Because your common difference is negative 200, and that makes sense. So that should be your final answer. Now, obviously, there are multiple ways of you demonstrating the work, but this is the format that I'm actually expecting you guys to do. Please utilize the formula. Utilize the formula and demonstrate for me that you guys can actually implement it correctly, plugging them in, and all that good stuff. For the last part, you have two terms like these two, and they want you to find the explicit formula. Okay, so this is the last slide, and after this, you're going to see similar questions, and you just have to submit it to me by tomorrow afternoon. For these questions, you're not given a sub 1. You're not given the common difference, so you're really down in shambles, but here's how it's going to be. You need to find out the number of terms that is between 16 and 30. How many more terms do you need to go from 16th term to go to the 30th term? Well, it turns out that you need to go 14 more terms, right? Because you just can do 30 minus 16, which is 14. Okay, so that's 14th term after the 16th term. Okay, so what that means is treat this as if it was the very first term. 105 is like kind of like your first term. Okay, and then the 14 terms after that, you get 203. Okay, so 203 is your 14th term after the first term. So what that means is if we're considering, let's say after, if we're considering how the common difference is consistently added 14 terms after that, okay? Because remember, if you're considering, let's say, a sub 1 was 105, and let's say a sub 3 is 203, that means that you're adding the common difference twice, right? Because that's the difference between these n values, okay? So if the difference between 30 and 16 is 14, that means you're adding that's going to be your n minus 1 value. Okay, I know that sounds confusing, but what it turns out is because you have subtracted these two values, you're adding the common difference 14 times. Okay, so we don't know what a sub 2 is, and frankly, I don't care. But to go from 105 to 103 in these two matter of these terms, this is just an example. You add the common difference twice because the difference between 3 and 1 is 2. So if the difference between 16 and 30 is 14, that means you take the 105 and you add the common difference 14 times of this much. So if you summarize that, that's 105 plus the common difference d plus 14 times that, and that should give you 203. That's the equation that I need you to solve for. So like I said, the formula is a sub 1 plus the common difference times n minus 1, right? Well, the nth term is not 30, it's not 16, it's just simply, this entire thing is simply 30 minus 16 because that's how many number of terms in between and how many times you're adding d consistently. How many times are you adding this by? So if you do this, when you solve for it, let's say that I kind of erase all this part right here. So I want to solve this. I'm going to move this up a little bit. Okay. All right, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 105 on both sides. So 14d is equal to 2, that's 198. And if you divide both sides by 14, d should equal 58. So I believe you get a fraction for this, so it's a little bit unfortunate. But my final answer will be 198 over 14. You can reduce that down to, let's see, 99 over 7. So that is going to give you a that is going to give you a decimal. But I'm going to just leave my answer as that. Okay? This will probably be one of the hardest questions, but let's try doing 18 and then verify the answer with me before you take your quiz. So pause the video now and let me know when you have it. Okay, so last question, here we go. Between 38 and 17, you have exactly 21 terms in between them. Well, how did you get that? 38 minus 17, right? That's 21. So what that means is, from the first term, we consider the lower term, right? From negative 95, I am going to have this added by the common difference in which what we don't know, but I am going to multiply that by 21 because that's how many number of terms in between them, and that was equal to negative 200. So when you do your math, add the 95 on both sides, you get 21 times d is equal to negative 105. Divide that by 21 and you get, so 21d is equal to negative 105. Divide by 21 on both sides, you get d exactly to equal negative 5. Unfortunately, I did not really complete the first question, right? Because it was asking you for the explicit formula, not the common difference. So let's say that I utilize this first. This first. The explicit formula should always have n in it, so a sub n is equal to the very first term, in which we do not know still, right? So let's say that I move up to here. The very first question that it had was a sub 16 was 105. And we found out that the common difference was 99 over 7. The second question had a sub 17 is equal to negative 95. And a sub 38 is negative 200. And we know the common difference is negative 5. For this one, a sub 30 is equal to 203. Now, after we did all that work and find out the common difference, now we can utilize that to find out the explicit formula. So how do we do that? We take this or this, it doesn't matter, but I like to use smaller numbers, that's just my thing. And we basically did what we have been doing, what we have done in the previous question where they give me the common difference, but they, like this one, like 11, they give me the common difference, but they give me the number, like let's say the 18th term in the sequence. You need to first solve for the first term and then find the explicit formula. So our job is to find the a sub 1 because I have the common difference now. That's a check. But in order to have an explicit formula, I need to have the very first term in which we do not know. So let's utilize this for my advantage. A sub 16, which is equal to 105, is equal to, remember the nth term is 16 now, a sub 1, in which we do not know, plus common difference of 99 over 7. I know that's kind of tricky, but that's what we're going to use, times 16 minus 1. So 105 is equal to a sub 1 plus 99 over 7 times 15. That's what it's going to be. Okay? So I want to make sure that I did everything here correctly. So that is going to be, I'm just going to make sure that's 30 and then 16. That's 14th term. So 14 times d, and that's going to give you, oh, I see. So the mistake here was the fact that I made this 198 instead of 98. So if I were to reduce that, I was simply supposed to get 7, right? That was my mistake. I knew that it couldn't have been a fraction. So here, my common difference is not 99 over 7, but it's going to be 7. That was my fault. I'm sorry about that, guys. So here, I'm going to plug that in as 7. Makes my math a lot easier to do because I was really not expecting that to happen. So here, I'm going to get 105 is equal to the first term plus 7 times 15, which is 105. Right? Oh, that's weird. So then a sub 1 is equal to 0 in that case, right? Because if you subtract 105 on both sides, you will simply get a sub 1 to be 0. So then in this particular case, how do you write your explicit formula? A sub n is equal to 0 plus 7 times n minus 1. Or you can just write 7 times n minus 1. That should pretty much be the case. And you can check to see for yourself that if you plug in the 16 in here, 7 times 15 is equal to 105. Even from the second term, if you plug in 30 here, 7 times 30 minus 1, that's 7 times 29. 7 times 29 should get you, let's see, yep, 203. So they both check. So the answer for the first equation should be this. Okay, I know that's a lot of work, but I mean, that's just the way it's going to be here. Now, let's try doing the second one, okay? Now, I'll again pause your video and then see what you're going to come up with for your explicit formula. Okay, so for me, I'm going to use the first one. A sub 17 is equal to negative 95 is equal to, which is the first term minus 5, that's the common difference, n minus 1. If you do plus negative 5 times n minus 1, that's going to give you the same thing, which is negative 5. So if by the way, the n here, I should not say n, that should be 17. So negative 95 is equal to a sub 1 minus 5 times 16. This should give me negative 80. So if I rewrite it, negative 95 equals a sub 1 minus 80. Add the 80 on both sides, and you get a sub 1 is equal to negative 15. So my final answer for the last question, my first term being a sub n is equal to negative 15, the first term, plus the common difference of negative 5 times n minus 1. This should be my final answer for the second question. Make sure you can do all of these things beforehand, and once you are ready with proceeding with the quiz, just take the quiz. It's gonna take you probably about 20 to 30 minutes. That's my guess. Good luck with it, and take care of yourself. Finish this by tomorrow afternoon. Thank you and have a good day.